Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulihi al-ameen, wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een, amma ba'd. I have a lot of respect for Muslims in the UK. Jazakumullah khairan for this invitation. It's an honor. And thank you again for AnNaseehaFoundation. All right. Yes, getting the best out of Ramadan, how to prepare for Ramadan. And I want to begin by saying, we all know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us to worship Him. That's the reason, the sole purpose we exist, the whole reason we're here on earth, to worship Allah Azza wa Jal. So if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked us to excel in our worship of Him for the entire year, that would not be too much. It would be very much in line with why we were created. That's what we're here for. If Allah Azza wa Jal asked us for half a year just to excel in worship, it also wouldn't be too much. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just asked for 1 month out of the year. And to put that in numbers or percentages, that's 8% of the year. You know, maybe a lot of you have thought of that, but for many years I never thought of the percentage of the year that Ramadan is. And when I saw that it was 8%, and if it's 29 days, it's even less than 8%, it's just so little. 8%, give your best and show your best to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it's just a short number of days, and that's exactly what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, ayyaman ma'dudat. Just a few numbered days. That's all it is. The companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, their preparation for Ramadan was all year long. You famously heard that 6 months after Ramadan, they're making dua constantly making dua to Allah Azza wa Jalla to accept their fast in Ramadan. And the other 6 months, Allahumma ballighna Ramadan. Oh Allah, make us alive so we can reach Ramadan. And the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam had a similar dua he would make. He would say, Allahumma barik lana fi Rajab wa Sha'ban. Oh Allah, put barakah, put blessings for us in the month of Rajab, in the month of Sha'ban, wa ballighna Ramadan, and help us reach Ramadan and allow us to reach Ramadan, to worship you in Ramadan. Now, there's a narration, it's really amazing, and I know everybody has heard it, but it's just so fantastic, right? It is Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam there were 3 of his companions who were friends. 2 of them died as martyrs in jihad. And we know that the level of the prophets and then the martyrs, that's a really, really high station. So they died as martyrs in in jihad. The 3rd one lived a year longer, and then he died. Then the Prophet ﷺ saw them in a dream, and the one who died after them, he didn't die a martyr. He saw him in a dream entering Al-Jannah before them. And the Prophet ﷺ could not understand that. And he asked Jibreel alayhi salam about that. And Jibreel alayhi salam explained, and this is so powerful, that he lived 1 extra Ramadan. He lived an extra Ramadan, so he entered the Jannah before 2 martyrs. That's so, the first time I heard that narration, it just always stuck with me. And every time Ramadan comes around, you just thank Allah Azza wa Jalla that you're alive during this time, during this month. It's incredible. It's such an incredible blessing. It's such an incredible opportunity. We can never thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enough for just making us alive during the month of Ramadan. How amazing is that? I want to mention there are more or less, let's just say 3 types of fasts or people can be broken up into 3 types in Ramadan. There is the average person, and their fasting is abstaining from eating and drinking and certain activities from sunup until sundown. That's the fast, and as the scholars mentioned, that's the fast of the majority. They just don't eat, they don't, drink, and that's it. Then there is a higher level type, people who make great effort to stay away from sins. So they want to do their best in excelling in the worship of Allah Azza wa Jal, but they're staying away from sins as much as possible. They're dedicating a lot of their time to Allah Azza wa Jal to worship, and that's a higher level. And then the scholars mentioned the fasting of the elite, and this is now a smaller level as well, higher level, but a smaller number of people. Whenever we hear about a smaller number of people or few people can do that, you aspire to be from those few. But this is another level. Here, the scholars mention these are the people who give also their thoughts, and they think about nothing but Allah Azza wa Jal. The month of Ramadan for them is purely about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not just doing good deeds, it's not just abstaining from the sins, but their thoughts and their heart always conscious and connected to Allah Azza wa Jal. That's another level, and that's the level that we would wish to aspire to. Now, to get the best out of Ramadan, the first thing is we have to talk about time and how we use our time in Ramadan. What's amazing and interesting is that the righteous Muslims who lived before us, they would give up good deeds. They would give up mustahab, good deeds in Ramadan for the sake of freeing up their time to worship Allah Azza wa Jal. What does that mean? So this is the example here, Sufyan al-Thawri, the great scholar, rahimahullah. Sufyan al-Thawri, he had a halaqah where he would be teaching knowledge and teaching many students of knowledge. He would cancel that halaqah. What's the halaqah? What's the ranking of that? It is a mustahab, good deed. And he would pause the good deed just so he could free himself up to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we're not talking about leaving off sins so they can worship Allah. He is leaving a good deed so he can do another good deed in the month of Ramadan. And the same thing was with Zuhri, Ibn Shihab al-Zuhri, the great scholar, rahimahullah. He would also give up his classes and free up his time in Ramadan. And you've probably heard this about many scholars. So it's amazing. There's not like, oh, they're going to stop sinning so they can free up their time in Ramadan and excel in worship. They're stopping other good deeds. And that shows you the importance of worship in the month of Ramadan. So then what about television, video games? You know, I know families in the month of Ramadan, the television never, ever comes on. Ever, ever, ever. Youth, parents, no one even bothers to turn it on. It's 8% of the year for Allah Azza wa Jal. Can I survive without television for 8% of the year? And the answer is absolutely yes. WhatsApp groups. Yani, look at the things that take up our time. YouTube, WhatsApp groups. And WhatsApp groups, some of us might be on some beneficial WhatsApp groups, but the majority of us, and let's keep this real, are just on these groups where they send you funny videos, okay? The cat fell into the water in the bathtub. The guy had a car crash. The camel bit him. Mush arif, just those kinds of things. That's it. And then you spend, a minute watching this video, 2 minutes watching that video, 3 minutes on this joke, and these minutes add up to hours throughout the month. And we're talking about a higher level of benefiting from your time in Ramadan, not wasting it on television, definitely not wasting it on video games. And sometimes you're naive, right? There was a point I thought every Muslim family would turn off the TV in Ramadan and turn off video games in Ramadan. But one time my brother was dropping me home after Taraweeh. This is in Ramadan, grown man, he's dropping me home after Taraweeh. And then he tells me, he says, right now I'm playing this game. And I think it was like, Age of Empire, World of Empire, where you have these armies and they fight each other. And he said, I'm playing this game right now, and I'm using the army of Abu Bakr. And then I don't know if in his mind, reality and the games became confused. He told me, Alhamdulillah, now almost all of Europe has come under Islam. Alhamdulillah. I was confused, like in real life or in the video game, you're telling me, Alhamdulillah, Europe came into, this is Ramadan, Yahi, and it was the last 10 nights, and you're conquering Europe. But it's just that maybe some of us are not aware of the seriousness of Ramadan, and we need to put this kind of stuff aside. YouTube and Facebook and Instagram. What am I going to watch on Instagram? Pictures of people's food or just cooking? Guys chopping up meat, frying it, and then your fasting makes it worse. You're watching that, it's become worse, right? One of the important things about time is that, or one of the mistakes people make with time, is that people look for free chunks of empty time in their life, and that's when they're going to recite Quran. Number one, most of us don't have a chunk of empty time. We're busy. Family, school, work. Who of you listening right now has a chunk of 3 or 4 empty hours next week that you know of? Like, I know next Tuesday from 12 to 4, I've got nothing to do. Who? None of us. We're all, our time is just packed. And realistically, the second thing is, if you had 4 hours of chunk of time, free time, would you sit down and would you fill it with something immediately, or would you just sit down and recite Quran for 4 hours? realistically, a lot of times people say, okay, I'm going to recite Quran for the next 3 hours. 6 minutes into it, they're asleep, right? Shaitan comes and lulls them to sleep. So it's not realistic to expect to have a chunk of empty 4 hours in your day, and that's what you're going to use for Quran or learning Arabic or studying the deen or what have you. But in our day, in our busy schedule, we have moments that are empty, moments that are free. And these moments, if you add them up, they come up to hours per week. And they come up to lots of hours per month. And you can do a lot in these hours. I mean, I know someone who was getting his PhD, and he's also memorizing the Quran. And he also works a full-time job. And on top of all that, and he does sports and other things, but on top of all that, he would read a book a week. He would go to the bookstore, buy a book, and just read the whole, every week he finishes a book. How does he make time? He reads in those moments. I know someone else would finish many books and he was super busy, but he's on the train, he opens his phone, starts reading the book or reading the Quran. I know people like that. They take advantage of moments. I personally know someone who memorized the entire Quran inside his car. Not half in his car, half in the masjid. The entire book of Allah he memorized while sitting inside his vehicle. So he lived in the east coast of the United States, in a state that had some of the worst traffic in the country. So he said, I would photocopy a page of the Quran, I would stick it to my dashboard of the car. And there's traffic, there's an accident, I read a verse and I repeat it, memorize it, move on to the next verse. There's a traffic light, how long is the traffic light red? 40 seconds? 40 seconds. I read a verse and I keep repeating it till I memorize it, move on to the next one. There's an accident, a detour, rain, everything is slow. He took advantage of these moments and he memorized the Quran inside of 3 years, all inside his vehicle. He took advantage of the short moments. And I'll give you the last example, and I've always used this example. One of my friends that I know personally, and he learned while he's busy with a family and everything, he learned a language. Let's just, for lack of a better term, say a quite rare language that he learned while he's in America. And then he traveled later and gave full da'wah in that language. And when people study a language, then they can only say, how are you? I'm fine. Assalamu alaikum, goodbye, thank you. No, he could give da'wah in that language. He learned it in 2 months. So I asked him, how did you do it? He said, any language is broken up into 2 parts. Vocabulary words, and then the grammatical rules, the sentence structure, how do you make past tense, plural, singular, all that. He said, I studied the grammatical rules in 1 month. All right. Now, what do you need now? Now you need to know vocab words so you can say light, window, door, microphone, like that. So he said, I would write the vocab words and put them in this pocket right here. Put them on those note cards. He said, I stop at a traffic light. How long is the traffic light red? 45 seconds, 40 seconds. I take out a word, start memorizing it. I get in the elevator, take the note cards. How long is an elevator ride? 20 seconds. Take out the note cards, memorize the word, put it back in his pocket. Any moment he's standing in line to pay a bill or whatever, they put him on hold while he's on the phone. Take out the note cards, memorize. He took advantage of these short moments. And these short moments add up. Do not look for big chunks of time in your life. There's an app, and Allah made things so easy for us. There's an app, every time you open your phone, it puts 1 ayah for you. You know how many times we check our phone? You know, I don't know in the UK, but in America, some say that some estimates say that you open your phone about 100 times a day. 100 times a day. So imagine every time you open your phone, you just read an ayah. The app gives you just 1 ayah. In no time, you finish the entire Quran just by opening your phone. So many opportunities. But what I'm talking about are those moments. You can take advantage of those moments, and those moments add up to hours upon hours. So don't look for huge chunks of time so you can sit down and recite the Quran and things. You either 1, get busy, or 2, 4 or 5 hours of reading the Quran, you get bound to get sleepy at some point. Take advantage of the moments. We're all busy. And there's one person in our lifetime who works and has a full-time job, and he's married and he has children. All right. Now, this might be one of the rare cases, but he reads every day 24 juz of the Quran. The Sheikh I heard this from said, I know him personally. He reads 24 juz every single day, and he's busy. He's got a life. He's not like a billionaire who could just sit home all day and recite Quran. Billionaires don't do that. So anyways, so taking advantage of moments. And in Ramadan, there's so many of these moments for dhikr of Allah Azza wa Jal, for recitation of the Quran, for reading a book, for memorizing the Quran. Lots of opportunities, but don't look for big chunks of time. Now, the next thing, I want to talk about the Quran. But before that, I want to talk about a mistake that a lot of people make. You know, the scholars always refer to the month of Ramadan as a madrasa, which means a school. Now, when you go to school, you learn something that you're supposed to carry on with for the rest of your life or for the rest of the year. But for many people, they have extremes. I have lifestyle A, which is how I am outside of Ramadan, and lifestyle B, which is how I behave inside of Ramadan. And when Ramadan's over, I go back to lifestyle A. But that's not the point of Ramadan. The point of Ramadan is to continue what you picked up with good manners, and you're dropping the bad habits and bad manners, and continue that for the rest of the year. That's the whole purpose. We're clear that we're not going to be at the same level of intensity of worship. That's also unrealistic. You know, the scholar said, Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was more active in Ramadan and more active in worship in Ramadan than he was outside of Ramadan. And then he's more active in worship in the last 10 nights of Ramadan than he was in the other 20 of Ramadan. So you don't expect that you're going to be worshiping like the 10 nights for the rest of the year. It's not realistic. But you're supposed to be a little different than you were after Ramadan than before Ramadan. I'll give you a true story. My uncle saw this with his own eyes. And it's just an exaggeration, or it's an exaggerated form of lifestyle A and B. My uncle told me this himself. He said, I have a friend who only prays in Ramadan. And some of you may have heard this story from me before, just bear with me. He said, I have a friend who only prays when it's Ramadan. He said, I was at his house the night before Eid. This was a Muslim country. So on television, on the news, they announced Eid al-Fitr. He says, I'm at his house waiting for him while he's praying Isha. And the TV is on in the other part of the house in the living room. We could hear the TV. He's praying Isha like this. He prays at home. He only prays in Ramadan and at home too. Doesn't go above and beyond. He said, while he was praying Isha, the news reporter, the newscaster announced, and tomorrow, bi'idhnillah, will be the first day of Eid al-Fitr. He said, when he heard that on the news, he just stepped out of the salah. Salaam alaikum, and stepped out of Isha prayer. Yani, Ramadan's over, I don't pray anymore. He left in mid-prayer. A'udhu billah. It's so bad, right? Now, we all do this, but not as immediate. True or false? We all do this, but not as immediate. Like we in Ramadan, Quran and dhikr and praying all the sunan and everything. And then when Eid comes, what happens? We pick up, we continue a little bit, and then we kind of drift off. It's almost what this guy does, but he does it instantly. We do it slowly. I tell you, last Ramadan, or maybe 2 Ramadans ago, someone on the 3rd day of Eid sent a text that I thought was amazing. He sent a text saying, today is the 3rd day of Eid. Are you on the 3rd juz of the Quran? Wow. Who thinks like that? First day of Eid, khalas, vacation. What? We're doing Quran for 30 days. You want me to do it on the day of Eid too? Astaghfirullah. So what happens? Day of Eid, khalas, vacation. Ramadan's over. It's just eating time. We eat. Okay, I lost some weight in Ramadan. I'm very hurt by that. I want to regain that and maybe get a few extras. All right? Then the 2nd day of Eid, it's the 2nd day of Eid. 3rd day of Eid is the 3rd day of Eid. But this text was amazing. I hope you guys appreciate it. He said, this is the 3rd day of Eid. Are you on the 3rd juz of the Quran? Or did you immediately abandon the Quran like that? Very, very powerful. So, the scholars say, when you love someone, you love their speech. You love your children. You love the things they tell you. You love to hear them speak. You know, when they first speak and they tell you all kinds of things that make no sense and it's all nonsense and you're smiling. Yeah, that's wonderful. Excellent. MashaAllah, that's so cute. Why? You love them. You love their speech. You know, someone's engaged. We know the engaged guy loves the speech of the beloved, right? So he's on the phone for hours. True story. True story. This guy, he was talking to his fiancée from Maghrib until Dhuhr the next day. One phone call. From Maghrib until Dhuhr the next day. They spoke until Isha came. They spoke until it was midnight. They spoke till Fajr came, and they kept speaking. The sun came up, and then they kept speaking until the. Like, what do you talk about for that long? Didn't you finish everything there is to talk about? They probably just went, you like ketchup? I like it. You like mustard? Mustard is nice. Pepper? What else are you going to talk about? Or one sheikh said, he said, we were at this camp, and it was very cold. And I was giving a lecture inside the tent, and we were freezing inside the tent. He said, suddenly I noticed one brother was missing. He said, where's brother so-and-so? They said, he's outside on the phone. It's like, he's been on the phone for an hour, and it's freezing cold outside. They said, he's talking to his fiancée. When you love someone, you love their speech. You don't get tired of it. You want to keep listening. It's cold, whatever. He's just sitting there. You can always tell when someone is speaking to their fiancé versus when someone is speaking to a friend of his. Okay? Because when you're speaking to your friend, it looks like this. Okay? But the minute you speak to your fiancé, it does something to your neck, shoulder area, and your upper back. And it bends. The minute the guy's on the phone with his fiancé, he's like. So we don't compare Allah to His creation, but you love Allah, you love His speech. You know Ibn Mas'ud, the companion, radiallahu anhu, back then they didn't have printing presses, as you know. So when someone would give him a copy of the Quran, that means they sat down and copied the Quran by hand. And that was like a great thing you could do back then, is write out the Quran with your hand and then you give it to someone as a gift. So you can imagine, not like we have copies all over the place now. So when someone would give Ibn Mas'ud a copy of the Quran, he would take it. And I want you to feel his love for the Book of Allah. He would take it like this and he would press it against his chest. And he would say, Kitabu Rabbi, Kitabu Rabbi, Kitabu Rabbi, the Book of my Lord. You can feel the love, right? The Book of my Lord, the Book of my Lord. Look at that. That's Ibn Mas'ud, all right? Now, what's amazing, wallahi, in the month of Ramadan, we open the Quran, we read, we recite, but you think you're doing something great for Allah, but it's really the opposite. It's really the opposite. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is doing something great for you. Like if I sit down and recite Quran for 3 hours, I'm doing something great for Allah. Allah is doing something great for you. Getting you to read His book for 3 hours. What a blessing, what an honor to read the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to spend 3 hours with the speech of Allah Azza wa Jal. So a lot of times people think like, Ramadan, we did so much and we did this and ibadat and all that, but really Allah did things for you by engaging you in ibadat and in the recitation of the Quran. You're being fixed inside, you're improving, you're becoming better. You're the one getting the benefit. As you know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not in need of our worship. So, also going back to Ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu, he used to advise people on how to recite the Quran. He says, do not sing it along like poetry. Don't sing it along like you're singing some kind of poetry, nor rush through it, but pause and contemplate its meanings. And when you're reading, what is Allah saying here? Pause, contemplate its meaning. There's no harm in putting a bookmark, going out, reading the tafsir or the translation, coming back to it again. But then look what he says. He says, وَلَا يَكُنْ هَمُّ أَحَدِكُمْ آخِرَ السُّورَةِ. He said, and do not let the concern of one of you be the end of the surah. What does that mean? Don't let your concern be the end of the surah. Sometimes you see people, they're sitting, okay, they're going to read Al-Baqarah. So they take the bookmark, and they put it at the end of Al-Baqarah. Then they start reading, okay? And when it gets long, what happens? Then they pause, and they go and see how many pages left to the bookmark. Okay, I got like 15 more pages. They go back to it, then they stop again, and you check how many till the end. Okay, I'm like 6 pages away. Isn't that the reality, right? People always checking how much to finish Al-Imran. He keeps checking how thick is it. All right. But Ibn Mas'ud said that. Imagine he said that at that time. He said, don't let the concern of one of you be the end of the surah. When is it going to finish? I just want to get to the end. Amazing. Okay. Tadabbur, contemplating the book of Allah. And you're never done contemplating the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One of the early Muslims, he had a walima, or like a feast or a gathering in his home. So the people came, then they asked him, what is the occasion. He said, I finished reciting the Quran after 20 years. After 20 years, I finished reciting the Quran. They said 20 years to finish reciting the Quran. He says, I never passed by a verse except I asked myself, what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala want from me from this verse? And what is Allah saying to me in this verse? Do I act upon this verse, or am I ignorant of it? Do I understand the meaning of this verse? Do I act upon it, or am I ignorant with what is in this verse? So in other words, he's saying it took him 20 years to do a slow khatam, a slow contemplation of the Quran. Can you imagine at every verse you stop? Why is Allah saying this? What is the intent behind this? What does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala want us to understand? What does Allah azza wa jal want from us? Do I act upon this verse? Ista'inu bis-sabri was-salah. Do I act upon this verse? Or am I ignorant concerning what's this verse the verse is talking about? So, wow. You know something? I'll tell you something amazing. The scholar said, Allah Azza wa Jalla in the Quran says, وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهِ وَيُعَلِّمُكُمُ اللَّهِ. Allah said in the Quran, وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهِ, and be mindful of Allah. Have taqwa of Allah, and Allah will teach you. وَيُعَلِّمُكُمُ اللَّهِ. They said, the way the order came in this verse shows you that you have to have taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bring you knowledge and will facilitate knowledge for you. What does that mean? It means you start the first part on your behalf, you do the first part. You start having taqwa of Allah Azza wa Jal, and it will facilitate other things. Why am I saying this? You know, sometimes someone will come and say, you know, I prayed, but I didn't feel it. It's not the salah. It's you. The scholar said, how can you ignore all the values and lessons and commands of the Quran and then expect to just memorize and learn the Quran? You cannot ignore its values and memorize its words. You understand? You cannot ignore the message of the Quran, but then expect tawfiq when it comes to memorizing the words of the Quran or reciting the words of the Quran. So it starts with you having taqwa of Allah. So someone will come and say, yeah, I prayed. Or sometimes you meet people, oh yeah, I used to pray, then it wasn't doing anything for me, I stopped. So, and I've met people who used to be Muslim and they say now that they're atheists and what have you, and they say, I used to pray and it didn't do anything for me. So they're trying to say there's something wrong with the construction of prayer, but there isn't. There's something wrong with how you were praying. There's something wrong with what you expected out of prayer. But there's nothing wrong with the salah. Or someone will go to the masjid, and this imam doesn't do it for me. Or today the tarawih wasn't on point. Maybe today you weren't on point. Because it's still the book of Allah Azza wa Jal. That's why when everything is good here and here, you go, and even if the imam doesn't have a nice voice, and today it's all about the nice voice, right? Even if the imam doesn't have a nice voice, you feel it. You feel it. And then you might go to the imam with the nicest voice, but you weren't good here. You don't feel anything. So that's what the scholar said. وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهِ وَيُعَلِّمُكُمُ اللَّهِ. Have taqwa of Allah and Allah will teach you. So you can't expect to disobey Allah, sin against Allah. Then when you pray, you feel the salah just like the Sahaba used to feel the salah. It takes work on both sides, on the salah side and outside of the salah. And you can't expect to be disobeying Allah and ignoring His commands and then to come in the masjid and then immediately feel the salah and the khushu' and all that. Okay. So, one of the things the scholars say that's really nice, they say that the human being is composed of the body and the spirit. It's this connection between the body and the spirit that's called life. When that connection breaks, that's death. As long as your spirit's connected to your body, you're alive. They said, and I know this is very elementary material here, all right, as far as this statement, but it's very powerful and very true. They said the body was created from earth. We know that from the hadith, the angels came and they took different colors and different parts of soil from different parts of the earth, handfuls of soil. So they said the body was created from earth. So everything that takes care of the body will be here on earth. Eating, and food, drinking, sleep, all that takes care of the body, all that is found here on earth. They said the soul, on the other hand, was not from earth. The soul came from the heavens. So the things that give nutrition and food for the soul will also be from the heavens. And they're referring to, of course, they're referring to the Qur'an. And that's, I don't think that you need to explain this further. That's why you read the Qur'an, you feel so comfortable. You feel at peace. You feel like something, you're satiated now, because it now nourishes your soul. Whereas people who have nothing to do with the soul, they always feel the emptiness because they just take care of the body, constantly taking care of the body, but they leave the soul. Okay. So now a word about Taraweeh. So far, what do we have? We're going to Ramadan with the correct intention. At least we're shooting for the worship of the elite. We're going to stay away from sins, do our best to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the best of our ability. We are going to even occupy our thoughts with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not occupy our thoughts with other things, trying our best. We're going to take advantage of our time. We're going to manage our time so that we have room for ibadah and for worship. And we're going to take advantage of the short moments. Don't try to be a hero and expect 6 free hours and I'll recite Quran for 6 hours straight. Just do what you can. Do your best. I'm going to talk about that again in the end. Then when it comes to Taraweeh, first of all, if your masjid is still having Taraweeh, despite COVID and all, like our masjid, we're going to have a Taraweeh, but it's going to be a shortened Taraweeh. It's going to be quite short, maybe just half hour tops you'll spend in Salah. So imagine someone misses that short Salah. Pray at home if you can, that's wonderful. If you plan to pray at home, then you find yourself just going to sleep most of the time, then it might be better for you to go to the masjid. This is Ibn Hurmuz, rahimahullah. Ibn Hurmuz, rahimahullah, was one of the teachers of Imam Malik. And just so you can get an idea of how great this man was, Imam Malik would say, whenever my heart would get hardened, like you need heart warmers, because when you're studying fiqh, for example, fiqh is dry, not a lot of aqidah and belief issues and heart softeners. It gets very dry with fiqh. So sometimes as students, they would continue studying fiqh for a while and they feel like their heart is hardened a little bit. So he said, كنت آتي ابن هرمز فأنظر إليه فأتعظ أياما. He said, I would come to Ibn Hurmuz and just look at him, and that would be a mu'idah, an admonition for me for days. I would get energized for days just by looking at him, just by seeing how he behaves, how he's making dhikr of Allah, how he prays, how he acts. And that would give me an energy boost for days just by looking at him. So this man, Ibn Hurmuz, rahimahullah, Imam Malik, rahimahullah, mentioned in his Muwatta, he says, Ibn Hurmuz would say, كان القارئ يقرأ بالمئين. يعني the reciter would recite مئين, يعني بالمئات, hundreds. In the ayat, it would be in the hundreds. We're talking about the rak'ah. We're not talking about the whole salah. They would recite in the hundreds, right? Then he said, we had an imam in Baghdad, and he used to, we had an imam, and he used to recite Al-Baqarah, finish all of Surah Al-Baqarah in 8 rak'at, which typically in a masjid that does 3 juz a day, that's about 3 days. They would finish Al-Baqarah in 8 rak'at. He said then sometimes he would do it in 12 rak'at, and the people will get a little bothered. They would feel like he rushed the salah. Another, by the name of Khalid ibn Durayk, is one of the early Muslims. He said, we had an imam that used to recite the entire Quran every 3 nights. Okay? So we went into Ramadan, every 3 nights we finished the whole Quran. 10 today, 10 tomorrow, 10 the day after, we finished the Quran. He said then, and in 3 days they would do what we struggle for a whole month, right? But I'm going to tell you something positive, inshallah. All right? So he said, then that imam got ill. In the middle of the month of Ramadan, that imam got sick. And we got a new imam, and he would finish the Quran every 4 days. And the people were upset because they felt that he rushed the salah. He shortened it, made it faster. What is this? We used to finish in 3 days. Now we finish in 4 days. You guys know the reciter, the famous reciter, Abdul Rashid Ali Sufi, right? And I was in, I think it was Qatar. Yeah, it was in Qatar where he has his masjid. He used to lead Tarawih there. He does 3 juz per night. And one of the brothers, we're standing a bunch of young brothers, and one of them said, I prayed with him one night. And the rest of them looked at him like he's a hero. You did? And what was it like? And what happened? That's 3 juz. And he's a hero for standing behind them to pray 3 juz. Khalid ibn Durayk said he would first finish reciting every 3 days. And then when he got sick, the next imam did it in 4 days and everyone got upset. Now, one of my friends, this is one of my best friends, this is overseas. He said he went to a masjid. He just stopped by for Tarawih. He said, Wallahi, I didn't know if I should laugh or cry. He said the imam said, Walad Dalleen, Ameen. Then the imam said, Noon, Allahu Akbar. Next rak'ah, Walad Dalleen, everyone said, Ameen. Then he said, Wal qalami wa ma yasturun, Allahu Akbar. Yani just one ayah every rak'ah. One ayah every rak'ah. But here's the sad part. He said, I have never seen people leave a masjid that happy in my life. People came out smiling, praising the Imam and his wisdom and his understanding that people have things to do. It's Ramadan, yeah. It's Ramadan. I know everyone's seen those WhatsApp videos where these super fast Tarawih, you've seen those, right? And they're not one country or 2 or 3, but we've seen it from multiple countries where it's basically like, I don't know, Zumba exercise. The guy just up, down, and there's always that guy who's way late. He's still up when they're all on the second rak'ah, trying to catch up with them, right? But and there's one guy, he was on the news, he was boasting that the whole Tarawih he does in 12 minutes. He does all 13 rak'at, and I hope he wasn't praying 20, because 20 in 12, he was boasting that I finished the whole Tarawih in 12 minutes. It's 8% of the year. Allah Azza wa Jalla wants to see the best out of you. And this is what you're going to present. لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. This is لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. 12 minutes. Ya Allah. Anyways. So, how are we going to match these people who in 3 nights finish the entire Quran? How can we match them? There's always good news. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam never leaves us to get depressed. There's always some good news. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, من قام مع الإمام حتى ينصرف كتب له قيام ليلة. كتب له قيام ليلة. He said, whoever stands with the Imam until the Imam leaves, it will be written the reward of a night in prayer. A whole entire night, not just the last third or half of the entire night in prayer of reward will be written for him. All he has to do is stand behind the Imam from beginning to end. And you know what's amazing? Yani, look, even now, with the salah being short, the hadith doesn't say if the salah is short or long, you stand with the Imam from beginning to end, meaning even witr. You pray with the Imam at the night prayer, whole night prayer, and reward will be written down for you. So look at this free reward. It's COVID. Free reward. Go stand. It's going to be a 40-minute salah, 30-minute salah. Boom. And you get the whole night in reward written. Now I'll tell you something interesting. Sometimes people hear stuff like this and they say, yeah, but you take the cheap way out. And is this how you're going to worship Allah? You're going to take the cheap way out? Let me tell you something. We're not taking anything out, all right? There's no out here. But it's the early Muslims. Look at how they used to think versus how sometimes we think. The early Muslims used to excel in fasting. They used to fast a lot in the winter. Why? Because the days are short. Why didn't they think, no, let me fast in the summer, the days are long, I will get more reward as I suffer more. All the scholars always say, this whole thing of suffering more to get reward, if you do it on purpose, you don't get more reward. And I can ride the bus to Mecca, but no, I shall walk to Mecca and take a donkey with me. Habibi, you don't get any more reward, the scholars say, unless it happens accidentally. The difficulty, the mashaqqa happens accidentally, you get more reward. But you don't leave the bus that's air conditioned because you want to ride the donkey. At the time of the Prophet ﷺ, they didn't have air conditioning. You don't get more reward. So the early Muslims, look how smart they were. They used to fast a lot during the winter because the day is short. You get the reward of a full day. And they used to excel in qiyam in this summer. Because why? Because the night is short. That's smart thinking. I want the reward. Okay, I want the reward. And if I can get the reward easier, I'll get the reward easier. It's free. If you tell someone there's free money, they run after it. Tell them here, free ajr. Oh, but why should I let me suffer for the reward? Habibi, if I tell you there's free money, no, let me labor for the money. Free money, free ajr. Smart. Companions were smart. Early Muslims smart like that. The good news is you pray with your imam from beginning to end until he prays witr, and you will get the reward of a full night written for you. That's amazing. One of my favorite stories is one of the early Muslims, and then I'm going to start wrapping up, okay? This is actually one of my last points. One of the early Muslims, he was praying the night prayer. And this story is about how you want to do something, but your body gets weak. He said he was praying the night prayer, and then he stopped between the two rak'at. His legs were hurting him, and he had a stick in his hand. So he hit his legs, and it's as if saying, you're the body part that's letting me down. He hit his legs with the stick, and he says, do the companions of the Prophet ﷺ think they're going to leave us far behind? And he says, I know there's a gap between us and the companions, but we're going to try to make the gap smaller. He said, Wallahi, لَنُزَاحِمَنَّهُمْ عَلَيْهِ. What is he talking about? We love our Prophet ﷺ. We love the Prophet ﷺ. We want to be near the Prophet ﷺ. What are the chances I have? Abu Bakr is going to be near the Prophet, or Umar, the companions, the 10 giving the tidings of paradise, all these great warriors from Badr and all the martyrs, all these companions, they saw him with their own eyes. They love him. They want to be close to him. They will be close to him on the day of judgment. He says, no, we're going to crowd them. He said, we're going to crowd them over the Prophet. I'm going to pray. I don't care if my feet hurt. I'm going to push myself because I want to be close. So I'm going to be in that crowd that's close to the Prophet, showing my way in. But I love it because the body was weak, but the spirit wants to keep going. Push. That's what it's about. And that's why my closing comment is about effort. All right. So I want you to notice a number of things. Number one, you notice I didn't give you a schedule because I don't think that's realistic. And I told you, okay, this is what you do. This is how to get the best out of your Ramadan. Do this and then do that. I can't give you a schedule. I don't know your schedule, and you know your life. You know what you can bear. You know what acts of worship that are easy for you, you excel in. So it was just general talk about how we use our time, about making time for the Qur'an, about being a hero at the time of Taraweeh, and the last thing, putting effort. So if you didn't get anything from this lecture, inshallah, just get this. And this is one of the great things in Islam, and one of the things that bring you a lot of peace of mind. Okay? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves to see effort from his servants. One more time. Allah loves to see that you put effort. Not necessarily that you succeed. You understand? Yani, Nuh alayhi salam. He called his people for 950 years. That was not his age. Many people confuse it. Some scholars say that he started at the age of 50. Other scholars say he started at the age of 150. But then he spent 950 years calling his people to Allah. And Allah says a few believed. Just a few people believed. So does Nuh alayhi salam get the reward of the few people who believe, or does he get the 950 years of effort? Which one? He gets the reward, the 950 years. Even in da'wah, Allah rewards you for giving da'wah, not necessarily for getting results. It's not like sales, commission-based. You get a shahada, you get reward. You don't get a shahada, you don't get reward. No, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rewards you just for the act of calling people to Allah, the act of giving da'wah. Whether people convert, revert, or not. Allah Azza wa Jalla loves to see effort. And you see that if you look carefully everywhere in Islam. Quick question. Why is Fajr before sunrise? Why? And why didn't Allah make Fajr at 11 o'clock a.m.? Huh? Now, if Fajr is 11 o'clock a.m., who would miss Fajr? Who would miss Fajr? Everybody wake up 10 o'clock, 10:30. Okay, let's catch Fajr. There will be like 6 people in the world who will miss Fajr. If Fajr was 11 a.m., everybody would catch Fajr. But Allah Azza wa Jalla wants to see effort from your part. Allah Azza wa Jalla wants to see you wake up and struggle and rub the sleep out of your eyes, and stretch and feel that pain, but you still get up and you still wash and you still come to the musalla or pray. That Allah Azza wa Jalla loves to see effort from His servant. Why did Allah Azza wa Jalla allow Iblis to live for such a long time until close to the Day of Judgment? Why? Why not just Iblis lives however he's supposed to live and he's gone? Because when Iblis is alive, you struggle against Iblis. And Allah loves to see effort from His servants. Wallahi, this is a point. If you remember this point in every aspect of your life, in every aspect of Islam, it will make your life easier. Just put the effort. I'll tell you something what the fuqaha say. I'll close with this, okay? I promise. They said if someone sets the alarm clock for Fajr and misses Fajr, they don't get the sin of missing Fajr, but they just don't get the reward of praying it on time. Why? Because the person made the intention. He wanted to wake up for Fajr, but he couldn't wake up. So he doesn't get the sin of ignoring Fajr. He just doesn't get the reward of praying Fajr on time. All right? Whereas what if someone goes to bed at night, sets the alarm clock to 9 in the morning, 9 a.m. Clearly, he's not even thinking of Fajr, true or false? So this person gets the sin of missing Fajr, and he also doesn't get the reward of praying it on time. Whereas the other guy didn't get the sin. Why? Because he put the effort. It was sincere, and he really tried. So this Ramadan, everyone has a different schedule. Some of us have 5 children. Some of us have 2 children. Some of us are single, but they go to school and work. Some of us just go to work. Some of us have a wife. Some of us have 4. The point is, okay, or 2, or maybe 3, all right? The point, that's not the point. The point is everyone has a different schedule. Everyone has a different lifestyle. All you have to do is let Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala see you making effort for 8% of the year. Allah just wants you to do your best for 8% of the year. 30 short days or 29 short days. Just do your best. That's it. It's not about who will put a schedule for you for Ramadan. You want to use a planner for Ramadan, use a planner online, download it, whatever. But just put effort. And before the month comes, you're asking Allah, Ya Allah, assist me in your worship. Just like the Prophet said, Allahumma a'inni ala dhikrika wa shukrika wa husni ibadatik. Allah, assist me in your making mention, your dhikr, making mention of you. Wa shukrika, and making thanks, being thankful to you, and excelling in your worship. That's all that it's about. I'm going to stop here, inshallah. Jazakumullah khairan for your attentive listening. Sallallahu wa barak ala Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.